The alarm jolted me upright like a gunshot to the skull. We were in a debrief tent, the canvas still soaked with last night's rain, steam rising off our gear from the heat inside. My lads, SAS, Tier 1, were slumped in chairs or sprawled on cots after a long training op with the DEA. Hostage rescue, fast rope extractions, joint drills with American counter-narcotics. Nothing fancy. Then the klaxon went off. Not a drill. Red lights flared. Radios screamed with overlapping chatter. A call came through on the DEA net. Full activation. Orders were to regroup at the helipad. Blackhawks inbound. Prep for rapid deployment to Atlanta. I looked at the DEA team leader, Special Agent Morales. His jaw was set. I was already scanning. No hesitation. This isn't Narcos. We've got something new. People tearing each other apart down south. Full containment breach. Atlanta PD is losing the city block by block. I grabbed my kit. Looks like we're going to war. We were wheels up in 20 minutes. 2 Blackhawks thundered over the tree line, their rotors beating out a funeral rhythm for whatever was waiting in the city ahead. Inside our bird, the air stank of oil, cordite, and tension. SAS and DEA mixed across the benches, weapons clutched tight, eyes locked on nothing. Morales leaned toward me over the rotor noise. They want us to reinforce the perimeter near downtown. PD's dug in, trying to evacuate civilians. CDC is requesting armed support. I nodded, assuming there's anyone left to reinforce. It was like flying over hell. Smoke poured from a dozen buildings. Fires licked the sky. Cars littered the roads like toys dropped mid-tantrum. Through the scorched haze, we saw movement, swarms of people staggering through the streets. Not running, not fleeing, just wandering. We circled downtown, radio silence from ground teams. PD wasn't answering. The CDC compound on Clifton Road was black. We tried to raise command. Nothing. It hit me in the gut. There's no one left to help. Put us on that roof. I yelled into the comms. The SunTrust Plaza, Atlanta's tallest. Still intact? We could use the height, see what was happening, maybe even rig a beacon for survivors. The pilots banked hard, and we touched down fast and rough. Both birds set down in tight formation, doors flung open, barrels sweeping rooftop access points. No contact. We were alone. We split into 4-man teams, 2 DEA, 2 SAS per fire team, and cleared the rooftop and upper floors. Empty. Blood on the stairwells. Bullet casings. Phones lying where hands used to be. No survivors. No police. No evac. Just echoes in the distant, and human howling from below. We gathered again on the rooftop. Morales looked like someone had punched the air out of him. We're not reinforcing a position, he said flatly. We're the position. I nodded, feeling every inch of the weight settle on my shoulders. Then we hold. We search. We find whoever's still breathing, and we get them the hell out. We spotted a flare from a rooftop 5 blocks north. A big red burn, short-lived, amateur, desperate. Someone's alive. This isn't a mission anymore. It's survival, with a purpose. And I'll be damned if I leave anyone behind. The flare had fizzled out, but smoke still curled lazily into the sky 5 blocks northeast. Someone had fired it from a rooftop, old industrial complex, maybe a former office park. We could barely make out 4 shapes huddled near the edge. Women. Alive. Waving. I keyed into the pilot's channel. Black 2-1, can you land on that roof? The response crackled through the headset, grim and certain. Negative, sir. HVAC units, antennae, goddamn satellite dishes stacked like Legos. No flat LZ. We'd clip a blade. I glanced at Morales. He just gave me that look. We're going anyway, even before I said it. Can you hover above it? Affirmative. We can raise the birds and cover you with door guns. But you're hoofing it down there. Good enough. We gathered by the eastern ledge. I raised the binoculars. For women, late 20s to early 40s, crouched low with a makeshift signal panel, bedsheet painted red, waving in the wind. One had a pistol, but the rest looked unarmed. They were surrounded by death. Streets below writhed with movement, those things stumbling over each other, some sprinting, some just waiting. Then our radios chirped. All units, be advised, command confirms. Infection is bloodborne. Transmission vector is via bite only, not airborne. Static. To neutralize infected, target the brain, headshots only. Shots to limbs will slow, but not stop. Repeat. Shoot to kill, center on the skull. Morales blew out a breath beside me. Finally, some actual intel. The pilot chimed in. Urgent. HQ wants to know, what's the status of the safe zones? Where do we evac to? Another pause. A cold one. Stand by for further instructions. Which meant, they don't know either. I looked at my team. SAS and DEA, 10 men, all armed to the teeth, trained for war, but facing a different kind of enemy. One that didn't take cover, didn't feel fear, and didn't stop. We move now, I said. Street-level suicide. We go rooftop to rooftop, breach through, cross where we can. Take up covering positions at every corner. Clear each floor fast, don't linger. Eyes open, ears sharper. I pointed at the Black Hawk gunners above us. Cover us the whole way. If you see us pinned, light up the streets. The door gunners gave a thumbs up, already locking in behind twin barrels of .50 cal Justice. I took point. The first building was a maintenance shaft, rusted and tight. We dropped 2 floors, came out in an abandoned law office reeking of sour coffee and old blood. The city moaned beneath us like a wounded animal. No more speeches. No more orders. Just steel, breath, and the promise of death 5 blocks away. We were going in to pull 4 strangers out of hell. And we weren't coming back empty-handed. The first building gave us access to a fire escape welded to a crumbling parking structure. We moved fast, 2 columns, 5 men each. Morales had his DEA boys on the right flank. I held the left. We called it leapfrogging. One team moved, the other covered. Sweep, clear, stack, breach. Over and over again. Floor by floor, rooftop to rooftop. The air was thick with ash and heat. Sirens howled in the distance, and every window felt like a set of eyes. Clear. 2 bodies, not moving. Stairs ahead. On me. We moved like shadows, tight and surgical. But shadows don't bleed. 3 blocks in, we hit the second tower, a corporate monolith with blown-out windows and collapsed corridors. One of the DEA fire teams, Simmons and Reyes, pushed ahead to secure the rooftop exit. And then I heard it. A scream. Contact. Multiple hostiles. East stairwell. Radio static. Gunfire. Automatic bursts and the sharp crack of suppressed rifles. I ran. Morales behind me, boots hammering concrete. When we reached the roof, they were surrounded. Maybe 20, no, 30 of them. Crawling over each other. Eyes white and glassy. Skin peeled back like paper. One had Simmons pinned, claws raking at his vest. Reyes was dry-firing an empty mag. Light him up. I warned. But we couldn't get a clean shot. Then the Black Hawk roared overhead. The .50 cal sang its thunder song, short, brutal bursts of death. Muzzles flared like dragons in the dark sky. Bodies exploded. Torsos torn in half. Heads vaporized. Blood misted the rooftop in a fine red rain. Reyes crawled backward, shielding Simmons. Then, silence. Only the hiss of the smoking barrels and the thud of twitching limbs. Clear. The voice came calm and flat over comms. The pilot. I knelt beside Simmons, alive, bleeding, dazed. No bite. Just claw marks. Lucky. Thanks for the save, I muttered into the mic. We regrouped at the base of a scaffold overlooking the survivor building. 5 stories up, flat roof, no movement around it, at least none human. I turned to the team. Morales lit a cigarette with shaking hands, took one drag, and handed it to Reyes without a word. No one spoke much. Then Davis, our comms tech, finally broke the silence. You think those women are still alive? I looked through my optic. They were still there. Still waving. Not for long if we keep standing here. We crossed the final street, straight across a narrow skybridge connecting 2 gutted towers. Below, the dead snarled and stumbled, piling over abandoned cars like ants on meat. You ever see anything like this? Morales asked, his voice low. No, I said. And I don't want to again. He gave a bitter laugh. Too late. We breached the next building. Old newspaper office. Desks overturned. Papers soaked in blood. My mind drifted to home for just a second. My wife, my daughter. Safe in another country. I hoped. But hope was a dangerous distraction. Focus. Breathe. Step. On the 3rd floor, we paused to catch our breath. Simmons sat down, shaking. I knelt across from him, placed a hand on his shoulder. You good? He looked up. Yeah. Just, never had to kill someone who looked so damn empty before. Not someone, I said. Not anymore. Across the hall, Morales was checking ammo with Reyes. 4 mags. 3 here. Plenty of hate left, Morales muttered. I stood. Next stop, the roof. Let's bring them home. The stairwell ended in a steel fire door. Morales counted down with his fingers, 3, 2, 1, and we breached. The rooftop hit us with sunlight and the low groan of the city below. There they were, the 4 women, dirty, wide-eyed, and backed against a crumbling AC unit. They froze as we emerged, rifles up. "Friendly," I shouted. "Military support. We're here to get you out." The tallest one, dark ponytail, maybe 35, stepped forward. "Hands up." We saw the flares, thought no one would come. "Name?" I asked. "Jen." "That's Maria, Tasha, and," she glanced behind her, "Aaron." Tasha was the one we noticed first. Slumped against a vent, her right hand wrapped in a bloody towel. She kept looking at it like it wasn't part of her anymore. I motioned to our medic, Wills. He moved in, quiet, careful. "Tasha," I said gently, "how'd that happen?" I fell running from one of them," she whispered. "Broken glass." "She's lying," muttered Simmons behind me. "I saw it. One of those things scratched her." My jaw tightened. I turned to Wills. He peeled the towel away. 3 jagged rakes across her forearm. Shallow. Bleeding. Yes, but not like a bite. Still, it was enough to change everything. "Is she infected?" Jen asked, her voice cracking. "We don't know," I answered, flatly honest. "But we'll monitor her." Morales stepped forward, voice low. "She turns, we end it. Fast and clean." Tasha heard it. Her eyes met mine. "I'm not going to turn," she said. "I'm not." But I'd seen denial before. Sometimes it was worse than the infection. The extraction zone was a half-mile west, open rooftop, sturdy enough for a Black Hawk to land. Problem was, we had to cut back through the outer edge of downtown. A choke point of abandoned cars, broken glass, and God knew what crawling inside the shadows. We moved fast and tight. Jen and Maria stuck close to Morales. I had Aaron and Tasha with me. I kept my eye on her hand. Wills checked her every few minutes. Pulse steady. Pupils normal. No sign of fever. Yet. We passed a church on 9th. Pews stacked like barricades. Blood smears on the sidewalk. Empty now. Just the smell of old rot and incense. "How much farther?" Aaron asked, panting. 2 blocks, I said. "Then we fly." Halfway through a wrecked bus terminal, we stopped for a breather. The air inside was thick with heat and mildew. Everyone was soaked through, lips cracked, breathing hard. Tasha sat against the wall. Wills knelt in front of her again, wiped her forehead. "No change," he muttered. "If it was gonna go bad fast, it probably would have started already." "Probably," Morales echoed. "That's not good enough." I didn't reply. I just watched her. She met my stare with fire. I'm not one of them. For now, I believed her. But that belief had teeth. We reached the rooftop of the Monroe Tower, a flat, open helipad that looked like heaven itself. The Black Hawk circled overhead, then dipped low. Rotor wash kicked up dust and loose paper. The gunners scanned the perimeter with twitchy barrels. One of them gave a thumbs up. "LZ is clear. You've got 30 seconds. I turned to the others. Board fast, eyes up. No speeches. We're not safe yet. Morales herded Jen, Maria, and Aaron into the first bird. I followed with Simmons and Reyes. Will stayed glued to Tasha's side, helping her into the second hawk. As we lifted off, I scanned the horizon, smoke columns rising from distant neighborhoods, fires devouring the bones of a broken city. Behind us, Atlanta burned. Below us, death waited in every shadow. Next stop, the unknown. The sound of rotors faded into a deep, tired hum. We were banking west, leaving behind the skyline of Atlanta, smoke curling from broken windows, streets littered with corpses and silence. Then the comms lit up. "All call signs. This is command. New evac directive. Rendezvous at temporary holding zone, NAS Great Inagua, Southern Bahamas. Coordinates incoming." The cockpit fell into stunned quiet. "Bahamas," Morales muttered, blinking. "They want us to fly across open water?" I leaned forward in my seat, cutting in on the channel. "Black 2-1, do we have enough fuel to make that jump?" The reply was dry. No hesitation. "Negative. We're running hot and light. Took off with just over half tanks. No way we clear the coast, let alone the damn ocean." My stomach sank. "So what's the play?" Both birds veered slightly south, flying low above the scorched outskirts. One of the pilots came over internal comms, voice rough with static and stress. "Best shots Hartsfield, Jackson. Big international hub, fuel depots everywhere. If it's not burned out or crawling with infected. Risky. Airports were like honey for flies. And right now, we were sweet meat to every set of dead eyes in the city. Still, options were running out. If the tarmac's shot, or the place is hot, he continued, we drop one fire team at the perimeter. They find a tanker or fuel truck, get out of the city. We land off-grid, rural zone. They meet us. We refuel and push for the coast. Long odds, Morales said beside me. Better than no odds, I said. We landed on a patch of high ground, cleared construction site on the city's edge. Dust swirled. Both choppers powered down to a hover readiness. Engines ticking. Blades still spinning. I gathered everyone beside the lead bird. 2 options, I said. We risk the airport. All of us. If it's hot, we either fight or run, and there's no second run. Or we split. I looked around. I'll lead the truck team if it comes to that. Morales shook his head. You're the senior officer. You stay with the air units. I'll go ground side. The medic Will stepped forward. I'm going too. I need to monitor Tasha. If something changes. Tasha's eyes flicked down. Still pale. Still sweating. But stable. All right, I said. Morales, Wills, Simmons, Reyes. You 4 if we go to Plan B. They nodded, silent. The pilots swept in with a tactical sat map, showing routes around the airport. Choke points, service roads, access terminals. 30 minutes to get in and check the depot, one of them said. If we can land, we all go. If not, you roll out. What about fuel containers? Wills asked. There should be a mobile tanker or towable rig. If not, siphon drums. Make it work. I looked at the map again. Every intersection felt like a coin toss. But this was survival now. No perfect choices. Only possible ones. We were airborne again, heading for Hartsfield-Jackson, hearts pounding harder than the turbines. One way or another, we were flying to the Bahamas. Or we weren't flying anywhere at all. The airport rolled out beneath us like a corpse. Terminal windows shattered. Concourses littered with twisted metal and bodies. A few airliners sat charred on the tarmac. Their bellies burst open, seats melted into slag. But the worst part wasn't the wreckage. It was the movement. They swarmed like ants across the runway. Hundreds, maybe more, drawn to the sound of our rotors. Dead faces turned skyward, arms reaching toward the noise. No go for landing. The pilot barked through comms. Fuel depots overrun. Copy, I said. Plan B, distraction op. Without hesitation, one of the Black Hawks dipped low, circling wide and flaring to the far end of the field. I'll draw them east, the pilot said. 3 passes. Make it count. Rotors howled. The bird strafed the dead at treetop level, its .50 calories tearing into the horde. Bodies flew in pieces, gore spraying the cracked tarmac. The infected roared and turned, a wave of flesh chasing steel. The second Black Hawk headed west toward the cargo perimeter, a technical area filled with abandoned ground vehicles. Dump trucks, gasoline trucks, luggage carts. Everything was rusting under the Georgia sun. Target spotted. Large truck by the fence, undamaged. The bird hovered low. I shouted over the roar, go. Simmons and Reyes opened fire on the half-dozen infected staggering around the truck. Shots to the head. Quick and brutal. Wills rushed to the cab, ripping open the door. Clear, he shouted. The keys are in the car. Tasha slid into the back seat, pale but alert. Still holding on. Reyes climbed into the cab of the tanker truck. Full tank, he confirmed, tapping the gauge with his hand. The engines roared to life. The Black Hawks circled overhead. The gate ahead is closed, the pilot said. You're going to need speed. Morales did not flinch and stepped on the gas. The front grille slammed into the rusty gate. The chain snapped, the metal creaked, and the truck flew out onto the driveway, then merged onto Highway 75, heading south. I watched from above. The metal juggernaut was breaking out of hell. For over 20 miles, the road was hauntingly clear. No movement. No wrecks. Just heat shimmering off cracked asphalt and the whisper of the wind. Too quiet, Simmons muttered over the comms. Then we saw it. A transport truck, stalled across the lanes like it had just stopped mid-thought. All around it, wrecked sedans and pickup trucks. Not crushed. Just abandoned. Too neat. Too deliberate. Wills raised his rifle. This is a setup. Morales didn't wait for consensus. Black Hawk 1. Fire on the tree line. North side. Copy. Guns hot. The Black Hawk banked hard. .50 cal gunners let loose, raking the dense brush with controlled bursts. Wood splintered. Branches flew. And from behind them. Movement. Figures. Armed. Human. Ambush. Morales shouted. Disembark, and the team spilled from the truck in formation, using the vehicle itself as a mobile wall. Reyes laid suppressing fire toward the woods. Wills and Simmons flanked left. Don't kill unless they fire, Morales snapped. Could be survivors desperate for a ride. But then a shot cracked out, sharp and loud. Simmons dropped to one knee. Sniper. Top of the cab. Wills snapped up his carbine. One precise tap, and the shooter tumbled from the roof. Target down. The rest broke from the trees, scattering. Hold fire, Morales ordered. Push in. Clear them. The team advanced, tight, cold, and ready to finish the job. The woods stank of rot and gasoline. We pushed through the shredded tree line, boots crunching bullet casings and broken branches. Smoke curled from the brush where the Black Hawk's .50 calories had chewed the earth raw. The ambushers had scattered like rats, but we followed. And then we found them. Bodies. Civilians. Slumped behind trees. In ditches. A family of 5, 2 adults, 3 kids. Shot in the back, hands zip-tied behind them. Trunk lids of the abandoned cars were ripped open. One minivan had been turned inside out. Everything of value taken. The mother inside, stripped, her face smashed in. Simmons knelt down beside the bodies, silent. Wills whispered, they were robbed. Executed. Left to rot. I stared at the blood, drying in the pine needles. The last of the looters were still running, 3 of them, ducking through the trees, trying to vanish into the forest. Black Hawk 1, I said, voice low into the mic. You see him? Visual confirmed, came the reply. Northeast quadrant. 20 meters from your position. I didn't hesitate. Light them up. All of them. The pilot didn't ask twice. The machine gun barked short, surgical bursts. Trees exploded. Bark shredded. One figure tumbled down a slope. Another tried to crawl. Then stopped. Silence again. Morales turned toward me. No trial. I looked back at the van. At the zip-tied children. There's no trial after this. Not anymore. Simmons sat on the bumper of the truck, shirt peeled off, rubbing his ribs. Wills examined the vest. Bruised, but intact, he said. Round hit high center. If it were 3 inches lower. Yeah, Simmons muttered. It wasn't. We did a quick sweep, no damage to the rig. Tires untouched. Windshield cracked, but functional. Fuel levels were good. Engine still rumbled like a beast ready to run. The Black Hawks resumed escort above, silent shadows in a sky beginning to bruise with dusk. We rolled back onto the highway, the road ahead clearer now. Wider. Colder. The sun dipped behind the tree line, staining the asphalt gold. Tasha sat quietly, eyes fixed on nothing. I caught her tracing her fingers near the scab overwound on her forearm. Still no fever, Wills said quietly. Still human. For now. No one spoke much after that. Too many ghosts in the rear view. Too many still waiting ahead. This is 2-1, the pilot crackled over comms. We've got a clearing. 1 click east of your position. Big enough for both birds, but we'll go staggered. 1 down, 1 on overwatch. The Black Hawks peeled off, engines dropping to a low growl as we banked hard toward a stretch of forest. Below, a narrow dirt track cut into the trees, old logging ground. Maybe. Isolated. Hidden. We turned the truck off-road and rumbled into the clearing, the smell of pine mixing with diesel and blood. Truck is on site, I confirmed. We'll secure the perimeter. The first bird touched down in a swirl of dust and needles. The team fanned out into the trees, tight formation, weapons up, eyes sharp. The rotors never fully stopped. Time was still our enemy. The pilots jumped out, hoses hissing as they siphoned fuel from the tanker truck into the aircraft's tanks. Sweat clung to their necks despite the cool air. We covered them, eyes scanning the darkened timber line for any flicker of motion, any unnatural silhouette. Minutes dragged. No contact. Then first birds topped off. The Black Hawk's turbines screamed back to life. The aircraft lifted off like a beast unchained, climbing fast to a holding pattern above the clearing. 2-2, you're up. As the second chopper dropped toward the clearing, Morales muttered, movement. 11 o'clock. We turned, rifles raised. Out of the trees stumbled a woman, barefoot, covered in dried blood, clutching something wrapped in a flannel jacket. Her steps were slow, deliberate. She wasn't running, wasn't hiding, just walking. Toward us. Stop, I ordered, leveling my carbine. Don't move another step. She froze, raised her hands slowly. The bundle shifted in her arms. It was a child. A boy, maybe 4. Both were filthy, gaunt, but no signs of aggression. No snarling. No wild eyes. Just exhaustion. Reyes stepped forward. I'll check them. He moved cautiously, eyes never leaving hers. He checked their arms, their necks, their legs. Nothing. No bites. No wounds. Just bruises, dirt, and a quiet desperation. He turned to me. They're clean. I nodded once. Take them. The second bird finished refueling. The turbine spun back up into a scream, kicking up debris. We boarded fast. Morales helped the woman into the rear of the cabin, the child cradled in her lap like something fragile barely holding together. No one spoke to her. No one had to. She didn't cry. Didn't ask where we were going. She just stared ahead, the wind from the rotors washing over her hollow face. And we lifted again, black steel slicing through the sky, leaving behind another graveyard in the trees. As the landscape blurred below us, rivers, burnt-out towns, silent highways, the radio crackled once more. Command to Fire Team Delta. Confirm ETA to coastal safe zone. I looked down at the child, sleeping in his mother's arms, his little hand curled in her torn sleeve. I keyed the mic. 30 minutes out. Still airborne. Still alive. The helicopters held steady at altitude, blades cutting the air with that rhythmic beat we'd all come to associate with survival. Below us, the ocean shimmered black and gold under the last light of day. The naval station came into view, perimeter fencing, sandbagged outposts, and the glint of spotlights scanning the horizon. Safe zone in sight, the pilot said. Bringing you down now. We didn't relax, not really. Not until boots were back on the ground, and even then, not all the way. We touched down on a concrete pad surrounded by armed Marines. Medical staff in hazmat suits approached immediately, their voices calm but firm. All passengers disembark. Weapons stay on the bird. You will be processed and decontaminated. Cooperate fully, and we'll move fast. We were led to a white canopy tent on the far side of the base. Under the lights, we stripped down, every piece of gear, every strip of clothing. We handed off dog tags, personal effects, and stepped beneath a freezing spray of antiseptic water. They checked everything, scars, old bullet wounds, scrapes from the forest. But their eyes always lingered on one person. Tasha. The scratch on her arm had turned red and puffy. Quarantine, the medic said flatly. Possible infection. She didn't protest. Just nodded. They escorted her away, 2 guards behind her, weapons not raised but definitely ready. The rest of us were given towels, cleaned uniforms, and a temporary barracks assignment. We collapsed into the cots like dying men, surrounded by silence, salt air, and that one burning question no one dared ask. Was it just a scratch? It was Wills who burst in with the update. His face, for the first time in days, wasn't drawn with dread. She's clear, he said. Blood tests came back. It was just a secondary skin infection. No viral markers. No changes in vitals. Antibiotics kicked in on day 2. We didn't cheer. We weren't built for that anymore. But Reyes clapped him on the back. Morales let out a breath like he'd been holding it since Atlanta. I just nodded. Good, I said. Real good. We stood in front of the mission board, gears cleaned, boots laced, eyes harder than before. Briefing packets were handed out. Rumors of unrest inland. Another CDC site had gone dark. Convoys were missing. Evac routes compromised. The war hadn't stopped. It had only paused. And now it was starting again. Morales leaned in. You ready for round 2? I looked toward the eastern horizon, where the sun was crawling up like a warning. Lock and load, I said. We've got work to do.